Good morning, folks. Today I'm standing in front of what is going to be the Buttered Crumb in New Tripoli, Pennsylvania. This is a local bakery for us, so we're excited to do the floor. So it's a little loud here, there's traffic going by. I'm going to take you inside, I'm going to show you what we're going to do today. Okay, so today we have everything loaded in our small trailer. Last week we actually had a job that was very tight for us to get into. So we transferred all of our equipment into our small trailer. So we're going to be coming in through the back door here. And this is the area that we're going to be doing. I want to say it's about 400 square feet. And there is heavy glue. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's heavy glue on the floor. There's new concrete here. Old concrete here. A couple funky joints we have to fill in. And then we have this room here, which I don't think we're gonna get our big grinder in. So I'm gonna have to come in here with our hand grinder and grind this room. This is about 8 by 8. We're going to terminate at the tile there and terminate at the tile there. And we're going to terminate right under the door, right here. They're going to replace this flooring, so we're going to stop right about here. So that's what we have. We're going to unload our equipment, get in here, get set up, and get moving.
Hi everyone, just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we're going to do as far as changing these diamond tools out for this particular floor that I'm going to start grinding in a few minutes. Here we're going to be removing a pretty heavy glue from the surface here, and we have a compound diamond now that's designed for very hard concrete, which means the metal bond is actually softer to allow it to cut into harder concrete. But because we're going to be removing a glue, we're assuming right now that we're going to require a little harder compound, which is this diamond tooling. And this will, again, cut better on softer surfaces, which right now, we'll get on this and see if this is the right decision. Like any grind we do, we typically start. If we see that maybe it's not going the way we assumed, we can always switch out. So that's where we're going to start now, and you get a chance to watch me in action. Thanks.
It's like NASCAR plate changing. Yeah, so these plates are pretty easy to change out. There's just a little quarter turn dial in there. So you can either change the diamonds out singularly or just change the plate out. We like to have multiple plates loaded up, then you just change the plate. It's kind of easy. So now we're all set. All right, I'm gonna shut this off so we can get set up to grind. One thing I wanted to show you is we have to watch, there's anchor bolts in the concrete here, and you don't know a bad day until you hit an anchor bolt with a planetary grinder. So normally if you hit them with a sledgehammer, they drive down. So see how low that is now? Now we can run the grinder over it and not hook it. But what I have to do is just make sure there's none hidden, because even in like this chunky, creamy stuff here, if there's an anchor bolt hiding, and you hit it with the grinder, you will remember it. I have one, I think, in this other room here. Here's one right here. So you can see these are cut off, but it's still like a 1/4 inch high. So if you hit that with the grinder, it's going to hook it. At least we're below the surface there. There's one here. That one cooperated and went down. This one didn't seem to go down that easily. And now these are the old shield. All right, so now, as far as we know, everything is below grade. Jeff's getting set up with the grinder here. All right, so we just started our vacuum. That's our blast track vacuum system. Jeff is going to get started here. I had a couple of requests to actually hear what the grinder sounds like when we grind. So you're going to find out as quickly as us how well this grinds on this really thick glue. It's either going to melt or it's going to kind of crumble and come up. It's a 50-50 shot. So we'll see what happens. That anybody can hear me very well, but that's what happens when the glue melts. The diamonds actually bite into the floor and it stalls out the grinder. So I just took one weight off so it doesn't bite in as aggressively. And now we'll get close again, we'll see what happens here. So I put the camera on time lapse here. So this glue is coming up fairly easily. Jeff is taking his time there. It's melting a little bit, but it is coming up. We did take the weight off the grinder because it did stall the grinder out totally. So you can see Jeff is taking his time there and making his way along. He's doing the left edge like we always do. It cuts better on the left edge. So we're going to go around in a clockwise pattern. But once Jeff gets the glue off of this, then we're going to go over to the new concrete directly adjacent to that.
Okay, I just want to give you a quick look at the floor that I just finished grinding. And as you saw prior to, there was quite a bit of glue on here, but we had the right diamond tools on our grinder and it ground exactly the way I had expected it to. Although I know the time lapse is going to make it look like it went by real quick. Unfortunately, it was a little bit of a slow go, but that's what happens with floors. We use the analogy oftentimes that concrete floors are like snowflakes and no two are the same, and we always run into something different. Now, as you can see, with that grind and removing the glue, we've exposed some cracks in the concrete that will need to go back and fill with our 343 rapid set epoxy material that is available on our online store if you're interested. But that's where we're at now. Jason's going to get into cleaning up the edges now with the hand grinder, and we'll move on to the rest of the floor.
All right, so this little room, the doorway is too narrow to get the big grinder in. So this little room I'm going to grind by hand. This is our Hilti grinder, and I'm going to try grinding this glue off. We don't know if it's going to melt or whether it's going to come up. We're going to find out in a minute, but you'll see it. So here we go. So you can see that actually is grinding pretty good. One thing you want to look for, this is the yellow glue. Sometimes they use black glue, and the black glue is actually petroleum based, which means oils get wicked into the concrete. That is not the case here. But what I'm doing, if you notice I'm going in a circular pattern, this concrete is really soft, and if you don't keep it moving fast and go in a circular pattern, you're going to dig a deep groove in here. So I'm just trying to keep going in a well, I go clockwise, but any type of pattern you want, keep it moving. And I also have this on low speed. This is a 2-speed grinder, so I have it on low speed. So I'm going to finish this out, and then we'll keep going with the rest of the floor. So I'm going to finish grinding this room out by hand. Again, you can see I kind of pick a section, I go in a pattern, just grind it all out. It took me, I don't know, 25 minutes, half an hour to get that room done. I'm going to start working on the edges. I'm going to work around the room doing the edge. Jeff is going to finish that side where I just had the hand grinder at because I was in his way. I'm going to work my way around doing the rest of the edging with the hand grinder, vacuum everything up, and once we get everything vacuumed up, we're going to do those crack repairs, and I'm also going to fix that little step in that one transition on the other side that you're going to see in a minute. Okay. All right, I just wanted to real quickly give you a quick look at now what we've done with the grinding of this floor. And interestingly enough, like I said earlier, with regards to no two floors are alike, this is a good example. It's not a huge area, but as you see here, there's some old concrete, some new concrete, and some old concrete. So you almost have 3 different floors in a very small area. So you have to be prepared for that as you get into grinding and coating floors like this. We are now getting started on the crack and a few repairs that we have to fill those in. So Jason will let you know where we are here. First of all, forgive my appearance. I got this hideous sweaty headband on and I'm saturated. It's like 90 degrees, 100% humidity. It's very hot today. So now that we have everything ground, we're gonna fill the hairline cracks and these little construction joints before we do our floor. So we're gonna use the CFS-343, which we always use. I have my ketchup bottle here. I have it mixed at 100 milliliters and 200 milliliters. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. And we're gonna mix it in here and fill these cracks quick. Again, this stuff sets very fast and it's gonna set super fast today. I'm guessing within a minute this is gonna gel up. So I'm just gonna pour this in until I get to the first line, like that. There we go. Now Jeff is going to have to follow behind me because I'm going to be running in an odd pattern here. So now you're probably going to have to go over these cracks, you know, 2, 3 times, 4 times, whatever, till they're filled. Some of these are pre-filled with sand because they were a little wide. If you don't pre-fill them, this stuff just keeps running out the bottom. So I'm just going to do a once over all these cracks. Doesn't have to be a lot of material, you just want it to get on it so it penetrates in there. You can see how thin this is. This material has incredible wicking action. It penetrates down into the concrete, fills this crack, and theoretically glues it back together again. Now I'm just going to start filling some of this random stuff here. This is actually getting hot in my hand, so I'm trying to move a little quickly here. I'm almost out anyway. Just going to run down this joint. And that's it. I'll mix up my next one.
Let's take a look at this crack that was filled, and like Jason said, you can almost, if you look at it, you can see how that material already wicked into the crack itself, which is exactly what we want to see. But like Jason said, you know, you need to go over these a few times until they're full. This initial pass kind of primes it and seals it, and will allow the material then to fill the crack in the next couple passes.
All right, so I made a mortar out of this. I got this weird step here. So, and forgive me for moving so fast. I like have a minute to do this. So, I'm gonna have to mix more of this, obviously, but I just want to get this thing filled in here a little bit. Yeah, I have to mix more very quickly over here. So this is a self-wetting, self-priming material here, so. Match. I have the feeling I'm going to be a tablespoon short because that's just what happens. All right, so I only have a couple seconds to really work with this. So I'm just troweling this out the best I can. I like those rounded pool trowels because it allows you some flexibility there at the ends to feather everything in. So I'm just working it left and right, top to bottom there. I have about an inch and a quarter transition I'm trying to fill in there. And it's setting very quickly as I do this. All right, so now that we're done with that, I'm gonna grind over all of the repairs really quickly just to get a scratch in the concrete so our coating sticks to it. It's a real fast grind, just knocking off the ridge from the repairs. Now Jeff is gonna do the final vacuum, so we just go over the floor quickly to make sure there's no piles of dust. There's always gonna be a slight film there after you vacuum, so if you wipe your finger on it and you have a little bit of a dust film, that's not going to affect anything as long as you're using the primer, which any of our kits come with the primer. Okay, so now we are done grinding, we're done with the crack repairs, we're done with everything. Just wanted to show you our prepped concrete that we have. So there's going to be like a 2-foot square sink going over this, so that hole doesn't matter. It's going to go over the whole thing. So we're about 1/2 inch from the edges. They're putting cove base up, so you won't see that. We took the drain covers off, so we'll go right around the drains. And this is that floor that had that horrible glue on it. And there's that area that I ground out by hand with the epoxy mortar. So, you know, I always try to show the scratch in the concrete. There's not great lighting in here, but that's the scratch. That's what we want. So now we're gonna get ready to mix up our prime coat. We're gonna put the CFS-707 LVP down. And then after that, we do the CFS-707 and then flakes. All right, we're getting ready to mix our material. By the way, we have a 500 square foot kit that we sell online here on our website, concretefloorsolutions.com. This is the CFS-707 LVP, which stands for low viscosity primer. So we're gonna mix this up first. We'll put this down. You know, the way this is packaged is you have a gallon on top and 2 gallons in the bucket. It's an easy mix. You don't have to think about ratio. You just put one into the other one. I'm just gonna pop this lid off of this. Depending how you order this, you might get the gallon inside like you just saw. Or if we ship at UPS, we have to stack it where it's this bucket with a gallon sitting on top of it in a tall box. But either way, it's the same ratio, same everything, it's just packaged different. Pour B into A. Low speed mixer. I'm going to mix this about 2 minutes. You always want to make sure you get your edges really good, so I always go in a circular pattern. I'll slow the drill down, get around the edges good. All right, that's it. So I'm going to pour this material around the perimeter. I'm going to stay about 1 foot off the wall. I'm going to try to get like a 4-inch wide ribbon parallel along the wall. And then I'm going to be pouring perpendicular to that wall I just poured against there. So I'm just going to pour some stripes going across. Again, maybe 6 inches wide every 4 feet, something to that effect. It's not rocket science. It's just you want a pattern so everything comes out uniform. So I'll pour my ribbons out across there and get ready to start squeegeeing. All right, so Jeff is wetting up his 18-inch roller in a puddle. I start squeegeeing in that back corner there, and once I get that little back area done, I'm gonna follow the edge around the side there. I'm gonna mess around in a corner here. There's a little offset back there that I have to squeegee out. Once you get the edges done with the squeegee, the body of the floor squeegees much quicker. So in this particular case here, I had a squeegee parallel with that wall. Now I'm going to go the other way with the squeegee and push the puddle all the way across. So Jeff is back rolling perpendicular to the way I squeegeed. So everything gets back rolled. Now I immediately applied the CFS-707. This is the second coat, which I'm not necessarily recommending to people who aren't familiar with epoxy, but we're back rolling that 707 now, and then I'm gonna get ready to flake.
All right, here's what you've all been waiting for. The flake to the on top of the 707.
So I flaked almost everything out here. You can't see what I'm doing, but just to show everybody how I throw flake, it might not work for everybody, but it surely works for us. You just make sure you take it, you throw it up in the air, and you let it shower down, and it gives it a nice controlled flake. And I know Most people like this. I have had one person that really doesn't like the way I throw flake, which to each his own. You don't have to like what I do, but the end result normally turns out really good. So just throw it up in the air, you let it shower down, and as it showers down, you get your pattern there. And as long as you do a little bit at a time, it's pretty easy to control. You don't overflake, which I know that was a term apparently somebody liked, overflaking, which you don't want to do because you can't pick the flake up once you throw it. And then I'm just going to walk around, kind of look really quick for consistency. I probably have to do this a little bit heavier. I'd rather come back again and put a little extra on than have it too heavy. So, all right, so I figured I'd take you for a walk here. So I'm done flaking. This is what she was looking for. I would call this like medium to heavy flake, but you can see how consistent the flake is. See if I can get you in there. So tomorrow we're going to come back, we're going to put a clear coat on this, and then we are done. Oh, here's that ramp too. You can see how well that turned out. So we'll be back tomorrow to finish up. Okay, folks, we are back day number 2 now. Yesterday we did the prep work. We filled the cracks and joints. We applied the primer. Then we did do a wet coat. We put the next coat, the base coat of the CFS-707 and flaked it. Now that's a process I wouldn't necessarily recommend if you never did a floor before, just because you have to be familiar with the squeegee pressures when you apply the next coat so you don't actually push the primer off the floor. But we did both coats yesterday and we flaked it. I'm gonna flip the camera around, I'll show you what we have. There always seems to be such a controversy over flake application, but everybody sees the way I throw the flake. I throw it up in the air and I let it shower down. But this is a very consistent flake application over this whole floor. Just gonna show you what we have. And here's that little room that we did. Remember there was a step right here which we patched with the CFS 343 and sand. We made a mortar, we patched it, and then I ground over it to scratch it. And now you'll see, I mean, that's a flush transition there. So we're gonna mix up the clear coat. Well, first we're gonna vacuum up the excess flakes that we overthrew here. So we're just gonna vacuum up the edges, get everything cleaned up. Then we're gonna put the clear coat down and then we're done. The owner does not want any aluminum oxide on the surface. They want it to be smooth so it's easy to clean. This is going to be a bakery and they're probably going to have flour or whatever else, so they want it easy to sweep and maintain. So we're just putting down the clear coat. This is the CFS-127 UV. This has some UV protection, even though you won't need it. We're inside here. But again, 2 gallons in the bottom bucket, 1 gallon in the top bucket. Okay, so I'm just going to mix the material quickly and pour it out on the floor. This material goes down a little thinner. It's a nice low viscosity material. It's easy to work with. So I'm going to pour it out. Again, going across the floor, Jeff is going to back roll perpendicular to the way I pour it. So I'm going to squeegee it quickly. Again, once you get those edges, the body of the floor goes fairly quickly. One thing you don't want to do is pour too much epoxy out on the floor at one time. If you pour too much out, you get down to the end and you have a huge puddle of epoxy and it makes a mess. So make sure you always hold a little bit back. It's easier to pour more down than take it up. So I'm just squeegeeing everything out. You can see there's a slight amber color to that. It's actually nice because you can see where the clear coat is. If it was crystal clear, you literally can't see it at all, which is not easy to work with. So I'm just going to push the puddle into that back room there quick. Again, edges take a little more time, so I'm just going to squeegee that out. Okay, now I'm done squeegeeing. Jeff is going to do the back rolling. Again, perpendicular to the way I squeegeed it. Just going to back roll this all out, and then I did put a little aluminum oxide on that ramp just because I don't want somebody to slip there. All right, I'm holding this bucket up so you can see the smoke coming out of it. It's kind of tough with the background, but what I want to show is look at what happens to the epoxy inside. It starts to coagulate in there, and this is getting really hot. Obviously you can't feel the temperature, but that's well over 150. Well, and now it's just turning into a solid right now. You can see it's actually gelling up, but that was about, I don't know, 40 minutes maybe from the time we mixed it, and this stuff flashed on us, which we're done, so it's not a big deal. But that's what happens if you let epoxy sit too long. I don't know if you can see the smoke coming out of it. Okay, folks, we are done. We just got done cleaning everything up. This is just the final shot here to show you what everything looks like. This is the finished product of the floor. They wanted it smooth and cleanable. And I mean, there's slight texture in here, which you need some texture or it's going to be too slippery. But that is the finished floor. I'll show you in this other room here. You know, remember there was about a 1 or 1.5 inch step that went down. We patched that with epoxy mortar and put our floor on top of it. So this is the finished product in here. Again, very consistent texture over everything. They're gonna put trim in here, get this all wrapped up, and then they're done. I'm trying to get a shot behind me, but the camera's not cooperating. It looks like the sun behind me here. But thank you everybody for tuning in. If you like what you're watching, please hit the like button, please subscribe. Congratulations to the Buttered Crumb. They should be opening around September of 2021. So it'll be great to have a local bakery open up. We appreciate everybody's support. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Here's the before shot from the one angle and the after shot, and then the back room. There's the before with the heavy glue and the after shot. Thanks for watching, everybody.